DWI, or driving while intoxicated, is a huge problem nationwide and locally. I'm here with Ken Dailey, Public Information Officer of the Dorado Police Department, and we're going to be talking about that problem. All right, Ken, what happens when someone is suspected of being DWI or driving while intoxicated?
Well, an officer on patrol might become aware of someone driving while under the influence of alcohol in a couple of ways. First, he might observe some type of driving error on the part of that person. They might cross the center line, run off the side of the road, or commit any number of errors that would indicate that they may be under the influence. The other way is he might be called to an accident scene and determine once he gets there that part of the reason of the accident might be that the person was under the influence of alcohol.
All right, what happens then?
If the officer suspects that alcohol is involved in a driving error or an accident, probably initially he would have that person perform a series of field sobriety tests designed to test the balance, the coordination of that person and their ability to follow instructions.
What type of things would he do?
He might have them walk a straight line. He might have them perform a dexterity test in touching finger to the nose. Of course, during this time, he's watching their ability to follow instructions and their general coordination and deciding whether or not they can safely operate a vehicle.
Okay, then what happens?
If the officer believes that alcohol is involved and that the person is under the influence to a degree that makes it unsafe for him to operate a vehicle, he would arrest that person and bring them to the police headquarters, where he would give them an opportunity to take a breathalyzer test.
All right, now tell us exactly about the breathalyzer test.
The breathalyzer, or the breath testing machine that we use here at the El Dorado Police Department, is a gas chromatograph that takes a sample of the person's breath and from that determines the level of blood alcohol concentration.
All right, now this is very valid, it is presented as evidence?
Yes, it is. It's been given judicial notice by our highest courts, and it is a very accurate instrument. If the person registers 0.10% or more on the breathalyzer machine, under Arkansas law, it's a presumption that they are operating a vehicle under the influence of alcohol.
Now, about how much alcohol does it take to get that kind of rating?
A person of average weight and size could drink 3 to 4 beers, for instance, and perhaps go that level or slightly higher on a breathalyzer machine. That varies according to several factors, perhaps how much the person has had to eat, their size, of course, and how long it's been since they've consumed that type of alcohol.
Now, if there's a question about the breathalyzer test and they feel like it's not correct, what can be done?
We also advise them of the right that they have to have an additional test made. Oftentimes that's a blood test, and we'll provide them with transportation to go to one of the local hospitals and have a nurse or a registered technician draw a blood sample that they can bring to court as additional evidence.
And sometimes it can be even higher, is that right?
Sometimes it can be. Generally it will go along with the breathalyzer reading, but since it's drawn from a more direct source, there may be some variation, sometimes higher than.
Right, you were telling me, I was asking you how prevalent this problem was, and you were telling me how many cases were being dealt with last Friday.
There were 9 separate cases of DWI in court last Friday. Most of those were first offense. First offense involves a fine, of course, several provisions under the DWI law. On first offense, you're required to spend 24 hours in jail or to perform 16 hours of public service. Second and third offenses require mandatory jail sentences and proportionally higher fines. Fourth offense in Arkansas is a felony now, and you can spend up to 6 years in the Department of Corrections.
And what about your driver's license?
On first offense, they'll be suspended for a period of 90 days, longer on second and third offenses. There are provisions on first offense to get a limited permit license, for instance, to go to work.
Well, I appreciate this information on a very prevalent problem nationwide and here in El Dorado.
If you're going to drive, don't drink.
Right.